All right, 5 minutes on the clock. Clock starts when the first tweet goes up. Let's see on DA screen because I have to be able to see him as well. What do we got here? Oh, no, that's the Skype machine. There we go. All right, kick it off. Let's do it. Clock starts. There we go. What do you think would make the biggest impact to the legitimacy of MMA? One set of unified rules for the world, union for the fighters, refs having a central association that can speak on their behalf. That'd be a big one. Or changes to the scoring system and judges. The union one would be the answer, quite frankly. The other ones would be beneficial except for the same unified rules. You want the ability for example, if you have a North American promotion or even a European promotion, you are largely going to be limited by what the governing, not bodies, but the states allow. So like, you can't just straight up change the rules when you go fight in Oklahoma. That reduces the ability of a competitor to innovate on the rules relative to the UFC. One is not hampered by that, so you actually want to keep that around, but it would be the union. That touches so many different issues. It wouldn't solve all their problems. It might only make a small dent in some, but it'd be a big dent, and really that's what's missing. That's what's needed next. Is JDS resurgent, or is the heavyweight division just a mess and he's one of the few left standing? Maybe a little bit of both. I do think he has reinvented his style, or at least accommodated his style in certain ways, although there wasn't much evidence of that on Saturday night. Again, as I indicated, it was very much throwback JDS. But here's what I would say. Heavyweight, more than other divisions, allows for comebacks. The fighters themselves are older, which I think indicates that if you are a reasonable talent there, which I think you would all call JDS a reasonable talent, being a former champion, you can have several acts over time. That's not really possible in the lightweight division. It can be possible if you switch from like welter to middle or middle to light heavy, but you can stay at heavyweight and just kind of rotate through some of the newer faces. And if you're good enough, you can get a second and third act in this business. Next. If you were Derrick Lewis, would you change up your game plan going forward? After a great run, he's had a rough stretch. He just lost to the champ and a former champ. No. Derrick Lewis is what, in his mid to early 30s? Like, there's changing up much is not possible at this point. He kind of is who he is. There might be some things he can do to accommodate his back pain or his unique susceptibility to, it appears, to body shots. But no, I would just stick with what got you here. You can't learn how to speak Chinese very well in your 30s. You got to learn that when you're very, very young and then build that over time. Next. Do you think the Daniel Cormier versus Brock Lesnar fight will happen? If it doesn't, what is DC's next fight? Jesus, man, I don't know. I don't know what the hell's happening with that. Brock's doing whatever the hell he's doing. DC's still recovering from injury, as he indicated on this show. If it doesn't happen, what is DC's next fight? I would love it to be against John Jones. I wouldn't even mind a Stipe fight, to be honest, but I don't know that it has to be the priority. Next. What's the worst combinations of toppings on pizza you can think of? The worst combo. I don't mind Hawaiian pizza. I don't know that I love it, but I don't mind it. I would say black olives. And I love olives, but the black ones they put on pizza, they're gross. And like sardines, maybe, something like that. Those are pretty bad. Next. Would you like to see Nico Price versus Robbie Lawler? Boy, Nico Price, is he a born finisher or what? Wow. Sure, that'd be a lot of fun. Mix it up. Nico Price, man, he wins in devastating fashion. Remember his hammer fists on Randy Brown and now this, and he's had a number of other finishes that are just violent. He is an incredible finisher. He's built for that. Next. Dan Raphael reported disclosed salaries for PBC Boxing's event, Porter versus Ugas. Porter made $1.25 million, but there were two fighters that made $1K, one that made $5K, and two that made $8K. In the UFC, your very first fight, you are guaranteed $13,500 between your show and gear. Is there a question there? Oh, yeah. In the UFC, you can become a millionaire without even having 15 professional fights. In boxing, 95% of boxers have to have at least 30 fights to hope to make that much. That's overstating it. But is the UFC over-villainized for their pay structure? No. The issue is not that. The issue is the UFC is better about creating a healthier middle class of fighters. But when we talk about who is the most robbed or who is the most underpaid, a lot of people think it's the guys who are making 10 and 10 or 20 and 20. No, it's the guys at the top because they're not getting the maximum amount of what they're probably entitled to were they in a different position. So it's a bit of a change up. It's good to have this middle class. It's not so great to have the ones at the top not really making those big dollars. Next. With Holloway versus Poirier 2 on the horizon, what areas in both guys' game do you believe have improved the most since their first fight? Do you think Holloway's wrestling defense has surpassed Poirier's wrestling offense? And how does Dustin handle Max's striking volume? What a great question. Well, they both improved dramatically. Let me finish this one while we call Mr. Guida. Here's what I would say about this. Definitely for for Holloway, his takedown defense has become borderline impenetrable. It's amazing. That has really done a lot for him, both in making guys stall out against him and in being bringing the other parts of his game to life, which is his distance management and his jab, and then his sort of the way in which he adds volume over time. The key there, really, the glue that holds that together is his takedown defense. By contrast, Poirier has really dialed back the brawling. Very, very good defensively, good judge of distance, still has that potent power punching. I don't think he's going to try and really take down Holloway. He might try to mix it up, but for the most part, I think they're going to fight this one at distance. So for me, Poirier's really got to do damage early. Holloway doesn't check a lot of leg kicks either, so that should be something you should watch out for. And how much can Poirier limit the stance switching? Man, there's a lot. There's a lot.